Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to our next project here in my shop. So this project is coming back from last year, or popping up from last year. This is one of my friend's wings, and we were at a flying event last year, and during a landing, he had a rough landing and both of the tip tanks got torn off. So one of my other friends, Bob, he's actually done the repair to the wing already and brought it to the primer stage, which is awesome. He's done a great job. And so now we've been tasked with painting the wing. Now this wing is from a CARF Classic Flash. That's why it's got the tip tanks on it. And I believe the rest of the plane's fine. So that's basically it, guys. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get this wrapped up fairly quickly, I hope. This should be a fairly quick project. But thanks so much for hopping on the video, and if you have any questions, make sure you list them down below. If this is your first time here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up. Let's get started. All right, guys, so let's go over what we need to do on this wing. So one of the nice things with this wing is the way the color scheme is laid out. So basically we've got just the gray on this side, right? And I have to check with my original pictures, but the gray, I believe, comes over halfway onto the tip tank. I believe the nose of the tip here is painted black, and this is the only color only gray that's visible on the front of the wing as far as tying into all this, except obviously the dark gray and the leading edge gray. Okay, so when we flip this wing over, on this side, the only visible yellow is on this section. So it kind of works out nice because we can actually tape off this joint, paint this entire section yellow, do the same thing on the other side here. Now the other side we've got to do more yellow, but it's the same kind of repair. And even if our yellow is not a close match, the nice thing is you don't see it because the underside of the wing is not visible at the same time. So that actually makes things a little bit easier. Now one of the downsides with what we have to do here is we've got a bit of touch up to try and get done in this section here. Might end up leaving those scratches on the light gray. We'll have to see how things progress and just trying to get a color match done with this section. We'll see how that goes. And then on the other side of the wing, we need that dark gray as well too, just to fill in this in the Y. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if we just didn't do that, but obviously we want to try and get this as back to close to original as possible. Now one other thing that I noticed when I was going over this wing, and I'll try and show it to you guys here in the light. So the actual hinge for the flap is right there, right? But if you look right here, it's delaminated, right? You can see that other flex point about half an inch inbound of the flap line. So we've got to take the flap apart and check that out. The reason we have to disconnect the flap from the servo is because when you open this up, there's actually a covering or a fairing or whatever inside there. So we can't see this part unless the flap is almost perpendicular to the wing itself. So that's why we've got to disconnect the mechanism for the servo. So that's one other thing that we need to take a look at. But that's basically it. Should be a fairly quick repair. We'll see how it goes. But if you have any questions, guys, list them down below. And without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, guys. So this is the top part of the flap that has been delaminated. So I'm happy that this is what exactly happened. So if you can see in between here, this portion of the wing and this portion of the skin has delaminated. So I've seen this happen before on Ultra Flashes, especially on the elevators. So the way these things are hinged, I believe this is called a live hinge, but anyways, the actual skin or the material itself is the hinge, right? So here's the aileron. This would be just like the underside of the flap. So sometimes what happens is the delamination will just come up in the corners of the elevator, and it's fairly easy to fix. It's actually what we're going to do on this this flap. This flap's actually better because our actual hinge is right in this location, and we've got the you know, about 4 or 5 millimeters of space here before it actually adheres to this spot. So generally what happens if you have this delamination occur on one of these CARF planes is you just have to make sure you keep the glue that you're using out of the hinge joint, otherwise it becomes stiff and brittle. So basically what we need to do is you need to get a little bit of a thin material, and we're going to put it under this section of the wing. We're going to reset it, and then we're going to clamp it all together and let it cure. So I'll show you guys in detail how I fix this, and again, if you have any questions, make sure you post them below. But step number 1 is I'm going to get some camera help here, and then we'll get our glue mixed up and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright guys, so what we're going to use for this is just 30-minute epoxy. I have thinned it out as well too, so it's fairly watery, just like we were going to use on a fiberglass repair, like a skin repair. So the reason we want it to be thin is so it makes its way into that laminated piece. Okay, so that's all set up and ready to go. Okay, so it's going to be hard to pick up on camera, but basically what we've got to do is obviously the delamination starts at this point, kind of works its way at an angle, and comes all the way to over here. Okay, so we've got almost the entire surface to re-glue. And if you look at this side, so you can see the crack kind of starts right there and works its way all the way over to that side. Okay, so we've got the entire joint to take care of. All right guys, so we've got our trusty bent screwdriver, the one tool that makes it into every single video. And what we're gonna do, oh, I might have made this too thin. What we're gonna do is just work it into the joint. Probably pour this in, but I don't really want to make a mess, because then my camera person would have to clean it up. And we're going to put a fair bit on this end because this is the end with all the large delamination. So I want enough in there so when I clamp this together, oh yeah, that's plenty. So probably way too much. We'll actually have to clean this up a little bit, but you can see the amount that's in there, and that will work great. Okay, now I'll show you how I clamp this thing. So if I was to do this all over again, what I would have done is put less glue in and then checked it first. And that would have saved that cleanup stage. Okay, so what we need to do now, is we want to clamp this section just so it ends up being nice and flat. So to do that well, it's really helpful to have a straight edge like this, and we're going to clamp that to the flap using my clamps. And Katie just said to me yesterday, she looked at my wall of clamps and she said, do you think you have enough clamps? And I said, actually no. There's a bunch of sizes I wish I had, so, but I don't. So honey, there you go. You can never have enough clamps. And any of you hobby guys, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so we want to get that ply just on the underside of the joint, just so that's where our pressure is going. Okay, so you can see it there. I'll put one more on there. Not one more on, we'll put one more clamp on. There we go. So what it's actually clamping on is the other side of the flap, which has structure in it, so we're good there. And that's basically it. So what we need to do is we just need to leave this now One of the benefits of using the 30-minute epoxy as opposed to high sol would be the high sol we have to wait till tomorrow. With the 30-minute epoxy, we obviously have to wait about 30 minutes, an hour roughly, until it's set up. So we'll let this cure and then we'll get back and start working on the paint portion. Alrighty guys, it has been about 4 to 5 hours since we last glued this, so it should be nice and cured. So let's take off these clamps and see what she looks like. Awesome, looks good. So we had a little bit of material, obviously, that epoxy go in there, but it is all solid and fixed now. That's awesome. I'm just going to flip this over and we'll take a look at the inside and see what it looks like. All right, guys, so there's the inside. Looks good, nice and solid. We had a little bit of epoxy right there that came out of the joint, so that's why it stuck there initially, but otherwise looks good. The flat moves its full travel, so it actually goes past the horizontal line, so that's awesome. We have no issues with travel, just like the other side. So essentially the flap is all fixed. First step is done. Okay, so now the big thing is we're going to move on to figuring out the painting side. So as we progress with the painting side, guys, I will show you exactly what we're doing, and that's what we're going to next. All right, guys, so we've done some sanding on both of the tip tanks just to get rid of some of the high points you could see with the primer on that was put by the fellow that did the repair. So we've sanded both sides of the wing. Have to clean it up still with some rubbing alcohol. But what we're going to do is I think I'm going to paint the yellow first. That's my plan anyways. We'll see how that works out. So I'm going to mask this off. I've got to mask the black line in between the yellow and the black. We also have to mask off this Y because we want to keep the Y. And then we're going to paint this top part yellow. Now, essentially what happens on the original color scheme is the yellow is split on the tank like this. So we've got yellow on the top half of the wing, gray on the bottom half, and then I have confirmed the nose is black. So we're going to continue with that color scheme. So step number 1 on this wing that I'm going to do is paint the yellow on both sides. This one becomes a little bit more difficult because we have the symbol and stuff like that. So we'll see how that works out. I think what we might do is just terminate the symbol here with that black line, and I might end up redoing the black line out a little bit further. So we'll see how that goes and see how it looks, I guess, when it's done. So, but same thing on this side, yellow on the top, gray on the bottom, and we just have to sort out the details there. So, all right, guys, surface prep has been completed, or sorry, taping things off for the yellow. Pretty standard, nothing too special. Gonna throw a blanket over top of the center section there. Did cut my finger. That's what the farmer band-aid's for. All right, so we are going to paint this now. So you can see there, I did tape off the Y. I like this opaque trim tape for this stuff. It's actually quite thick. It's easy to work with. The nice thing is you can lay it over top and you can actually see what's through it. And then you can use an X-Acto knife to trim it out. One of the things you really want to make sure when you're doing this kind of stuff, I found, is your edges where the tape overlaps, like there. You really want to push it down and make sure it's sealed on those edges. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll get paint bleeding through there. So it's probably going to happen anyways. So you just clean it up afterwards with an appropriate solvent or mineral spirits type of thing. But that's what we're up against. So I'm going to paint this yellow, and I'll probably put 2 or 3 coats on there, and I'll show you guys the finished product when it's done. So I'm going to let that set up for a little bit before I start pulling the prep off, and we'll see what the finished product looks like. So that's 2.5 coats. Basically I did 2 light coats and then touched up just a couple spots. Okay guys, so I just thought I'd, as I'm peeling the prep off here, I figured I would show you the difference between crappy masking or trim tape and good trim tape. So you can see the extremely clean line here on this line. So that was done with this particular trim tape, Nito tape. It's Japanese trim tape, so it works really good. I've got multiple choices here, but that's what proper trim tape looks like. And then, if you look at standard masking tape, you can see the line there, and the difference between the sharp edge. So what I'll do is I'll pull this. This is the Nito tape here. So I'll pull that off and show you guys what it ends up looking like here. So you can see the difference in line. There's no bleed through, and looks awesome. So use good quality trim masking tape, and you'll get much sharper lines. All right, guys, here's the right wing tip all done. I think it looks really, really good, and I'm happy with the way it turned out. So nice clean lines. So this wingtip is going to be painted black. We're going to worry about it at the very end, and we'll do that probably as a last step. Now we still have to do the underside of the wing, but right wing looks phenomenal. All right, guys, so here is the left wing. Turned out okay. There's a little bit of speckling, like I don't know what it's called, but little pieces of lint or whatever in the finish. So we'll see what we can do about that. But one of the things we have to figure out is what are we going to do with the black stripe and this stuff here. So it would be nice just to continue the black stripe and be done with it. I have a fairly close color match to this insignia, but what I'm thinking about doing is just painting the black line a little bit further, maybe making it, call that about 1 inch wide, overlapping this section, so overlapping this insignia, and what we'll have to do on the other side is to make that match, we would have to paint the black over the same amount, but in this case I would mask off the Y and that little part of the V and make it look like this is overlaying that stuff, and on this side make it look like it's tucking underneath. Now those are those little details that probably I notice and nobody else does because I'm going through the fix process. But I think that's the best way to hide everything without having the proper color matches for all this stuff, and I think it's going to be a nice finished look. So that's my plan anyways. We'll see what happens. Okay guys, so here's that opaque tape that I was talking about. You can see the multiple layers there, so some of these areas have 3 or 4 layers over top, but the nice thing is you can just run this across and then cut it off with an X-Acto knife, and it works really well for prepping these areas off. Nice sharp lines as well too. So what we've decided to do with the underside of the wing, what I've decided to do with the underside of the wing, is we're just going to run a prep line on the angle, and we're going to do that as one solid color of gray. Now the nice thing about that, continuing this line all the way down, it actually intersects with the black line quite nicely. So that's the plan. So that's the left wing tip. And then on the right side, much the same thing. So we're going to do one solid color of gray. Prep line's going to be here, going around the symbol, and that's going to be it. So not a whole lot left to do on this wing. We've got that gray to paint, then we've got the black stripe on the other side. Black tips on the wing tips, and that's it. So very, very close. A couple mechanical things to finish here. So we've got some of the screws to replace that went missing. And then we've got set screw on the strut there, and I'm going to open up these struts and take a look at them and make sure they've got the other set screws in on the back side. That strut has the set screw there. So anyways, guys, making good progress, and it's getting close. All right, guys, the gray has been painted. I'm just pulling off the prep now. I'm going to pull all the prep off here. The other side was just sprayed. That's why it's all glossy. So we are, once that sets up, we will pull the prep off that, and we'll let that cure. All right, guys, so we are going to tape off the tips now. So what I've done is I just took my ruler, measured at 120 millimeters back to there, put a little mark on the tip, and then I'll use my masking tape and tape off both tips. Once that's done, we're going to flip the wing over, and we have to do the black stripe on the other side. I'll show you that step as well here. Okay, guys, so the wings have been prepped off, this side and the other side there. So on this side, we're painting the wingtip black. On this side, we are painting the wingtip black, and then this black stripe. So that's all been prepped off. I'm going to paint those now, and hopefully the finished product works out exactly as I would like. All right, guys, so the wing was almost done yesterday, but I had an issue with the black paint that I used on this stripe here. So actually, when I got home from work today, I removed all the prep, sanded it all down, redid the black stripe, and I think this time it's going to work out okay. Yeah, just not having good luck with the black paint. Not easy to spray. Actually, it worked out good on the tips, on the wing tips, but just this one little stripe is I'm struggling with. So anyways, almost done this, but I'm going to pull this prep off here pretty quick, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, guys, so it worked out okay. It's not super smooth like the rest of the wing, but it's okay. Not overly happy with these scratched areas, but without repainting all the gray, which I don't think is necessary on the entire wing. I don't have the color match to this from CARF, so we're just going to leave that the way it is. I think it turned out pretty darn good for not having the CARF color matched paint. So one of the negatives about redoing this is I did, when I pulled my trim tape off, it did pull some of the yellow off. So I'm going to touch that up with a brush because it's a fairly small area. And last thing to do is put those bolts and screws in the struts and covers. All right, guys, so just put 8 new screws in per cover. So covers are done, and then put one of the set screws in there for the struts that was missing. I did extend the gear and just confirm that there was the set screws on the back sides or top sides, whatever you want to call it, of the gear. So that is it. She is good to return to flying. That's it. So the only thing I guess I would have liked to work out better on this would be those scratches. Sorry, David, your wing is a little bit marked, but otherwise I think it looks pretty darn good, and it's back to flying shape. So thanks, guys, for tuning into this repair video for the wing for CARF Classic Flash. If you have any questions, make sure you post them down below. More than happy to try and answer any questions, whether it's regarding the wing or repairs or anything like that. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. The next project in the queue is we are going to be doing an unboxing of the big plane. I think most of you know what it is, but that's coming up probably within a couple days after posting this video. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. If you have any questions, again, list them below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Give the video a thumbs up. And that's it. Thank you. We'll see you in the next video.